Good evening. You're watching the Cheese Room podcast with me, the caller, having a beer on a Friday night. Hope your Friday night is as good as mine. I am joined by three wonderful, illustrious guests. All right. I'm joined by John and a couple of Aussies. John, how are you, mate? You all right?
I'm all right. I've got a little Christmas present from one of my daughters, which she forgot to give me, so gave it to me 2 days ago. But I think that's quite nice. It's a nice little mug, and it's embossed, so it won't rub away in the dishwasher, unlike some other top mugs I might have.
Is it good in the dishwasher?
Well, it hasn't rubbed away yet. It's all right. So
I like it. Has to be good in the dishwasher. I'm not manually washing a cup up.
No, absolutely not.
It's a mugs game, that is. Also joining me from the land down under, Cameron. How are you?
Pretty good. Been working this week besides the public holidays. So,
you work?
Yeah, went back to work on Wednesday. So, things have been pretty status quo over my way, but it's a bit warmer here than it is up there, I think.
You must be one of the few people that does work in the cheese room, I think. And JP, how are you? Wearing another beautiful hat as ever this morning.
I'm pretty sure this is the same hat I wear every show.
Is it?
Somehow there's like a rotation of two, and somehow that like quantifies like an endless stream of caps. I'm all right. I'm tired. Christmas has ruined me, but it does every year. We'll get on with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let us know where you're watching from in the chat. We're going to get to as many of your comments as possible during the show. Our producer / run sheet provider has thrown a sickie in terms of he's not able to do the run sheet tonight, which is a real shame. No doubt he'll have lots of witty banter in the chat, demonstrating that he therefore probably could have done a run sheet, but he couldn't be asked. So, Dave, shout out to you, and I'm just going to ad-lib it, really. John, if you want to push on with the slides, we're going to talk a bit about the massacre at the Amex. We're going to talk about the Bournemouth preview ahead at the weekend, and we're going to talk about the transfer window as well, because John's been working hard on his ITKs this week. And may have a little bit of an update for us. So, John, would you start the slides, please?
I thought to start off with, in true Becky style, I went to the game yesterday.
Well done.
Sort of wishing I hadn't, but so I was there at the Amex with the boy James, who, as you'll see in a minute, made a bit of a boo-boo with his attire because he decided to wear a red T-shirt, which it was only on the train I noticed. I don't know what he was doing. Anyway, that's enough about my.
That's a sackable offence. That there's no cheese room invite for him for the foreseeable, right?
Well, I think you and him should stay away from all future matches.
This is true.
To be really honest, John. But
yeah. Kerry's on the same line as you. You call it. It's my fault.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Just on the Amex. I mean, I've never been. It looks like a very tidy but slightly weird stadium. I mean, look, who designed that monstrosity?
So, I think. Oh, DaveO's piped up.
There you go.
I think that it was originally built. Obviously, they were in the maybe League One when they was designed. Right. They certainly weren't. They probably didn't expect to be in the Premier League for so quickly and for such a long time. But I'm pretty sure that it was designed so the goal behind the goals could be expanded at some point.
Well, it needs.
I'm not sure if that is on the agenda or not. They are both behind goals are quite small little stands. I was a bit worried it'd be quite a shallow stand, but it was fairly. It's not Tottenham steep, but it was quite steep. So I had a decent view. To be fair, it was better than I thought it would be. We were about
steep,
no, and it's not as far from the pictures I thought it was from TV pictures either. We were about probably 8-9 rows from the back. Yeah. I think we were row Q to give you an example, so you can work it out how many rows back we were. And it was a decent view.
Even the roof on that thing is wonky at the bottom end, isn't it? Look at it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well, that's because the stand on the left has got 3 tiers and the stand on the right's only got 2 tiers. So it is the stand on the left is the biggest.
You might have beat us, but you've got a shit ground. There you go.
Yeah. So there you go. I took another picture.
They give out
just the game started. And what I found weird was you see just above the goal it says stand or fall, and then to the left of that there's a really weird window. There's a window there, and there was about 10 seats that just sat in there. I'm guessing it's like a conference room or something, and they just put a couple of people in there to watch the game. Also, what I found interesting was that you can see the big screen there. They didn't show the game live on the big screen, but they did show some of the highlights throughout the game. I don't know if that's because both the screens are behind the goals, and that might put players off or something. But most grounds, like Tottenham, obviously they show the game live as you're going. So if it's down the far end, you can look at the screen to get a better angle or view. I just thought that was quite an interesting viewpoint. But yeah, we got to Brighton about 5 o'clock. Quite interestingly, it's free transport from certain stations. So we drove to Worthing Station and got the train for free into Brighton. Went to the Witherspoons, which is one of the dedicated away pubs, and then had a few drinks with some of the guys I know, and then we headed up to Brighton Station again to get the train to Falmer, which is about a 10-minute train ride. We had to wait because the train was late, piled on the train. Then when we got off the train, did the big old walk. It's up a bit of a hill. Then realised we had to go to the far end of the stadium, had to walk all the way round to get in. Got into the ground.
This isn't the most interesting story so far.
I feel like I've been there and I'm already bored.
Sorry, just giving you a brief thing. Got in there, no bloody food, no drink, nothing. Absolute shambles. Shambles. Really? They run out of everything. It was huge queues. You
probably could have just shortened that to the catering facilities weren't very good.
It was shit. Anyway,
good atmosphere.
Anyway, got into the ground, and then the Spurs team followed my moods and just didn't turn up.
So you couldn't get a drink there?
I couldn't get an alcoholic beverage because the queues were just massive, and they were like, "Oh, we've run out of cider, we've run out of beer," and they were trying to catch up.
Weird. You wouldn't have that.
Honestly,
we might be not very good on the pitch, but you can always get a pie. Levy, always thinking. There you go. So talk us through it, John. A brief spell on top in the first sort of 10 minutes.
You know what? The first 5 minutes, I thought we started all right.
Yeah.
And then it just went a bit, and then Welbeck had 2 chances, didn't he? And the second one, the save was unbelievable. I mean, Welbeck should have put it in the top corner, but...
Were you behind that?
We're right, yeah, just behind that goal, sort of level where Welbeck hit it from. And how he saved that was just astonishing. Obviously he had to anticipate it. And if Welbeck puts it in the top corner, he's going to get nowhere near it. And you could see Welbeck's fate. Welbeck couldn't believe he saved it. And then they had another chance. And although we seemed like we had the ball and we were knocking it around well, you could just tell the goal was coming because they could have been 3-0 up within 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes. And then eventually they got their first corner. And I was watching Dunk because obviously we've got no centre-backs in that team. And Dunk went to the far post, and you knew it was going to the far post. And the other centre-back, who basically man-marked Kulusevski all game, headed it against the post. And there was a bit of a pinball situation. And then Welbeck just went flying. And you just knew it was going to go to VAR and going to be a penalty.
Ridiculous penalty, Cam. What would your punishment for Kulusevski be? Would you slap him around the head a few times? I mean, what was he thinking?
I initially, because in game time, I actually didn't pay full attention to it. When they showed the 50 slow motion replays, I'm like, you idiot, mate. Like, absolute undisciplined. And you could see Ange after it, he just shook his head, and I thought he's going to cop it in the locker room. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a stern talking to there because that was just a massive brain fart.
Well, I just don't understand what he was thinking. But JP Ange defended him a bit in the press conference. I mean, what's that all about?
Ange is going to defend his players always in press conferences, and then he'll burn them behind closed doors. Like, I think we've seen this a few times where he's like come out and said, "Oh, I thought we did all right after the Wolves game," and then after the Wolves game comes out and says, "Yeah, no, we were shit." So, he would have been livid. I thought that he had 2 fingers on him, so it was pretty soft in terms of the amount of effort he's putting into holding him back. But in today's game, you can't touch them at all. I think
it was the length of time he kept hold of the shirt.
Yeah,
it wasn't a short period of time he kept hold of it. If you're having a quick tug, you probably get away with it.
Yeah,
that's going to be clipped, isn't it?
But it was just
if you are, you're probably going to be all right. Yeah, you're probably going to be all right. But
it was just stupid.
If you hold on to someone's shirt for that long, you're going to go down. Simply,
and the fact
he's going to go down, it's going to be a pen.
The fact that Welbeck was trying a bicycle just meant it was always going to look
accentuated.
Yeah. And it was a penalty. Like, just was. So just dumb. And that was the theme of the game, really. I thought for take the first 10 minutes out of it, that, like, I don't know, 70 minutes that sat between there and the 80th minute. You just look at it and it was just dumb. So many dumb things we did. Dumb passing, sloppy passing, dumb decisions all over the pitch. Going forward, picking out the wrong time to make a pass, waiting too long to make a pass, shooting when you had absolutely no right to take a shot. I think I looked at the stats after the game, and the stats read completely differently. We outpassed them, outpossessed them, outshot them. Thank you.
Most of that was in the last 15 minutes, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And so you look at it and you go, oh, it looks like Brighton were, had significantly more fouls than us, more yellow cards. They've played a dirty game and they've been really efficient in front. Wasn't it at all? Brighton were all over us, completely dominated us for the majority of the game. We had 20 minutes where we were okay.
Yeah. How was the
DaveO's on delay?
He must be on delay. I told Dave, you know what one of those is. John, what was the mood like with the away fans?
Sorry, I jumped to the second goal, didn't I? I missed the first goal by Hinchelwood, where we just all got dragged across. So they had the 3 chances, and the ball fell to Hinchelwood after João Pedro, a forward who actually wants to take on players, something our forwards didn't seem to understand yesterday. Or he just kept running around across the box, passed it to Hinchelwood, and the ball bounced as he controlled it. It bounced up. So when he hit it with his laces, it just had that nice bit of flight to go straight above Vicario's head, and yet Vicario had no chance with that. But I was a bit worried how we did get dragged across. If looking at the game again earlier, the camera behind the goal showed that we literally had no players to the left of the 6-yard box on the left-hand side. Sonny was tucked right in. Udogie was dragged in, obviously, looked to cover in the box. So Hinchelwood had so much space just to smash it. So, and let's say that goal was coming. And then the penalty obviously came.
Sorry.
Go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I was a bit disappointed with Udogie. I know it probably wasn't his man to pick up. It was probably Sonny. But I was a bit disappointed with him. He kind of made half an effort to come across. I thought if he had he slowed down just before the shot came in. I thought if he had kept going to try and block the shot, he might have been able to get just enough on it to give Vicario a chance. But it was like, oh, I'm going to get there. And he goes, oh, he's probably going to get there first. And he just didn't make an effort to kind of put the shot off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, he definitely wasn't aware of the player behind him, and you've got to be more switched on. So, but yeah, the mood, I think we thought we're still in this, but we're worried. I always said there's goals in this for us, but we didn't exploit the space behind their fullbacks enough. There were so many times, like you're saying, it was back to Conte ball, pass it round at the back, and it's panic stations, and it really felt like they were on us every time. They knew what they're doing.
They're pressing very well.
Their pressing was really good, and we didn't have the players in midfield to play through that, or the players at centre back to play through that, unfortunately. So we kept getting caught out. We also didn't really have anyone up front who could hold the ball up. I thought Dunk absolutely bullied Richarlison. Sonny had one of his worst games he's had this season, and Johnson's obviously a kid. I know he's had a lot of criticism. I was looking earlier on Twitter. Johnson's getting ripped apart.
He's 22.
He 20 years old? Is he 22?
I think so.
But he's still a young guy. He's at a new club. 2 weeks ago, he had his head almost chopped off, didn't he? You've got to give
a nice guys scar there, by the way.
Yeah, you've got to give guys a chance to embed a new system, a new philosophy. He's played at Forest, who play a completely different brand of football.
I mean, Johnson, we could let's talk Johnson for a minute, and not in relation to the tug. I thought that he's got a couple of tricks and he never uses them. And that's what frustrates me. And I think it frustrates other people as well. I know HG was talking about it in our chat group. He's one really good attribute is I think he's the fastest player in the league, or one of. But you never see him beat a man, and you never see him take on a man. All he needs to do is boot it down that right-hand side and then put a ball over. And, I mean, he did it a couple of times. And I think there was one where he overhit it, basically. Richarlison was a few yards behind it, so was Son. I mean, it was hit bloody hard. So he needs to just think about what he's doing with the ball a bit more. the guy's got potential, but he had potential at Forest, and he's 22. I think he is. I like him. I want him to come good. I really do. I think people do need a little bit of patience with him, but he's not quite done it yet. And yeah,
but do you think it's mental?
I agree with Paul there. It was a great assist. He's got it in his locker. I just think he needs a bit of time. Oh, he is 22.
Has he settled in?
Tell you what, knowledge there. Remember, never forget an age. Yeah,
I think like with Johnson as well. Like I understand, like it's frustrating because you know what he can do, but I also think we know what he can do because particularly in the last 2 or 3 games, everything good about Spurs, Johnson's been heavily involved in. Like everything good we've done, he's been a massive part of. It's just that it's infrequent how often we're seeing it. And so you see little bits and you go, okay, yeah, there's a player in there. There's absolutely a player in there because when we're good, he's good. And he's key to us being good. But we want to see more consistency of that throughout the game. And you're right. Like for a person as fast as he is, he's got to take on a man. Like you don't need to be tricky or skillful.
It's a bit of Sessitis, I would call it.
Yeah.
Because Sessignon, similarly, very quick, but never takes on a man. And I think that so much of the game is confidence and having confidence in what you're doing. Yep. Maybe he just needs some time. Maybe he just needs a bit of confidence. Maybe he needs a couple of goals, and you'll see a player transform. His defensive work. Again, I agree. He sort of ambles back very lazily. But.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the play, like, because when he was playing at Forest, it was very much like knock the ball in space for him and let him run on to it and let's go that way. I think if he had someone, if we had a 1v1 dribbler in the squad and someone he can look at to kind of learn of a new way of playing on the wing, that might help him because Son's very much the same. Son doesn't take players on. He runs into space. So I don't think he's had that much kind of modeled for him of like, how am I meant to play this way? So I think getting someone on the left who can take on a man is really important for the balance of our team, but it might also help Johnson.
We're not like Brian Hill for that role, JP?
Well, apparently none of our managers ever do, so I don't think the
likelihood of that come to Brian Hill.
Yeah. John's got a little.
I think with Johnson, one thing Johnson, when he did have a run, was he set up the chance where Richarlison hit the post.
Yeah. This is what I say. When he does it, like everything good about Spurs has happened through Richarlison over the last, has happened through Johnson over the last few weeks. All of our good play comes through Johnson. So it's there. It's definitely there. We just need more consistency.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I think people have.
Sorry,
I've seen so much crazy criticism of Son on Twitter. Other social media networks are available. I just think, Son had a poor game, really poor game. I thought his decision making was poor. He didn't beat a man, and his passing was diabolical for a Premier League player. But I think, all this nonsense about he's washed and all the rest of it. You know what? Son's been fantastic for us. It's a ridiculous thing to come down too hard on him. I mean, John. 4-0 down. What are you thinking? We're going home now, or were you there?
So at half time, I said to James, if we're 4-0 down in the 90th minute, should we? Because it's crap getting out. It's not. It's probably worse than getting out of Tottenham.
Do they do transport from the stadium then to?
Yeah. So there's trains. The Falmouth train station is round the corner. It's not far, but I'd heard some people have had to queue an hour after a game, so I didn't want to be leaving with the masses.
Right, yeah.
But no, Kerry, you never did. We left in like the 98th minute, I think about a minute to go. We were just outside the stadium when the final whistle went. But 4-0, you just worried it could have been 6-0 at half time.
Yeah.
Because they had so many chances. But I always said, we've got we're going to score here. I knew we could score. And obviously, we thought we had scored within about a minute of the half time of the second half starting, and Richarlison was offside. And then he was offside again and hit straight at the keeper, and then he was offside again and put it in. So he could have had 2 goals, could have had 3 goals, but
sometimes with Richarlison, I know Richarlison scored 2 goals that were offside, and they were offside. There's no debate about it. But I was reading, it's not just about Richarlison's run. It's about the point of release as well. It's about when the player passing through. So it's not. I think it's simplistic to go, "Oh, Richarlison's always caught offside," because it might not be his fault. I think it was by the way in those games, but
the second one, Decky should have released him way earlier.
Yes.
Way earlier.
The first one I think wasn't the passer's fault, but the second one, Decky does this though, doesn't he? He just sometimes holds on too long before passing. I don't quite know why.
Yeah.
And then when he went off, I actually thought it took away a bit of he went off with Sarr, didn't he? I think took away a bit of our bite. I thought we lost it for a little while. Sonny went into the middle, and I think we struggled for a little bit. And obviously,
I thought Richie had a good game in general. I've got to be honest. I saw a bit of criticism. I mean, there's criticism of the whole team, rightfully so. But I'll be honest. I thought Richie was not a problem. I thought he was causing them problems, and I thought he was going to score. Surprised.
The reason he might have been taken off, and I heard this. I think maybe I heard Paul and Brendan on the pod talking about it. Was that obviously he could have got sent off for putting his hand into the Brighton player's face. Was that Pedro? I can't remember who it was now, but he got a yellow card, and obviously being on a yellow, it might be that Ange thought, well, who's he going to take off?
Last thing we need is another suspension. Yeah.
We don't need another suspension. Yeah. Sarr, who was on 4 yellows, Kulu had already got his 5th yellow, so Kulu's out anyway. So couldn't really afford to lose Sarr and Richie for the Bournemouth game. So that might have been part of his thinking. But I thought, talking about Brian, I thought Brian Lo Celso came on. I thought Brian made a difference in that he stuck wide, but he just cuts inside too many times for me.
I want to see him go outside.
In the last 10 minutes, he did go outside quite a lot. But the first 10 minutes he was on, he kept coming inside. And this has been my biggest frustration with him every time he's played. For some reason, he wants to cut inside, whether that's a hangover from the Conte period where he liked to have the inverted wingers. But when he started going down the wing, and it's almost because the players were passing it to him, forcing him down the wing, we seemed to get a bit of success. And it seemed to cause us, give us a bit more luck. Now, whether part of that was because Brighton were knackered, because they do press really hard and they work really hard. And Brendan was saying Sandro had said to him, because Sandro's done he's been doing some of his coaching.
Shadowing De Zerbi, hasn't he?
De Zerbi, yeah. So he sees them. And he said to Brendan, they get tired every game. They do struggle later on in games. A bit like we do sometimes. We do work so hard.
Yeah.
And that might have been part of the reason why we got... Yeah. Do you know what? If Højbjerg's shot that hits the post goes in, I think we would have got a draw.
Yeah.
They were rattled. At 4-1, they were rattled. Yeah. And I think, from a really poor performance, Richie stays, foot on the first one and a couple of inches on the second one onside, and we've got 2 goals.
Oh, yeah. There was, chance creation wasn't an issue, was it? I think we created lots of chances without our best playmaker in the team. Again, so, there's lots of positives. I do think the selection's a bit odd. I mean, I'd have played Gio from the start if he had the fitness. I don't know what his fitness level is, but I was saying to Dave Harris with a super chat, what is he doing? Ange, I love the passion, but a lot of sandpaper gate, ill discipline. We'll come to that in a minute. Let me finish what was I saying? I can't even bloody remember now. He's completely thrown me. He's thrown money at me and thrown me. All right, let's just do the super chat. Ange Ball, love the passion, but a lot of sandpaper gate. I don't really know what he means there. Ill discipline, though, I do know what that means. Cam, you 3 debate this while I fill up with a beer. Do you think we've got a disciplinary problem at Spurs?
Yes, I do. I think I was thinking about this. I was going to speak to James about it last night, but if you have a look at the amount of cards, statistically, the amount of cards we've had this season and compared to last season, I don't know if it's because Ange has taken off the reins to the squad whilst going forward. I can't put my finger on it, but we've definitely collected a lot of cards this season and suspensions along the way comparatively to last season. I don't know if it's such an Ange thing. It's hard to put my finger on it. But we've had distinctly more suspensions, I think, this season than last. And I was thinking about that after yesterday's game going, Kulusevski's out now. How many suspensions have we had in our squad? Basuma, Romero.
Seems had 2.
Yeah, no, 3.
Romero's had 2.
Oh, yeah, 2, yeah. I'm thinking there is, and I don't know the core reasoning of it.
I think we've discussed this in the past. I don't think it's a behavioural attitude, ill-discipline problem. I think it's an issue of the players still coming to grips with the system, and the system being so hectic that they're often caught out of position and end up committing silly fouls. I also think we've been real unlucky in some of the games where we've picked up yellows. Destiny got suspended for his 5th yellow. That was really soft in light of that game. That foul had been committed 6 or 7 times. No, what was it? Forest.
No.
That same foul had been committed 6 or 7 times by Forest players. Nothing, but Destiny got it. There's been a few instances of that where it's not going for you, and it's really not going for you. So, yeah.
I think Kerry's got, in our chat, we've definitely got every time since the Liverpool game.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool have had a lot of rubber green with VAR, and suddenly we're not getting anything at all. And we'll come on to the challenge in a minute by Dunk.
Can I ask, is it the maturity of the team for their ill discipline in terms of they're a pretty young team on the pitch there?
I still think it's that we've got a few players in the system who aren't right for the system, which creates problems in terms of our shape and means other players are compensating for them, and they end up just going in too hot in a few instances because they're having to do so much. I don't think it's a behavioural and attitude, Romero aside, problem. I think it's just we're asking them to do a lot, and at times it's meaning that they're a little bit caught out and they're lunging into a tackle that they didn't need to lunge into.
Paul's saying there's ill discipline when things aren't going right. I've just had a look at the Premier League website. Because there were, particularly at the beginning of the season, there was more bookings if you question the referee. That's one of the things. Ollie McBurney got sent off at Spurs in the game where we beat Sheffield United late on. His second booking was because he questioned the referee, supposedly for foul and abusive language. But if you look at his lips, he doesn't actually swear. I think he was very unlucky on that situation. But if I tell you that Yves Bissouma is joint 19th highest on bookings this season, the players above him, none of them are Spurs players.
Yeah,
that's that many players. Other clubs are getting bookings a lot. The top players on 8 yellows are, unsurprisingly, Paulinho from Fulham and Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea. He's got 8 yellows. And then it's Edson Alvarez, Bruno Fernandes, Anthony Gordon, Bruno Guimaraes, Mario Lemina, no surprise there, Christian Norgard, and Emerson, the left back. So, it's not just Spurs that are getting a lot of yellows this season. But yes, there's definitely a difference this year. There's some silly challenges going in. The interpretation is obviously being looked at differently, I think, as well by VAR.
Yeah.
I think the difference is the press is so ferocious at times this season that I think by nature of that you're going to mistime a few tackles and pick up some yellows, aren't you? But I think what can't be excused is the second yellows, which are, if you're on a yellow, behave. And we're not. We're just not. And then I think we've had some reds that have been reds, but that there is a consistency problem in the Premier League. You look at this tackle here. It's an absolute shocker of a tackle.
Yeah.
He could have broken his ankle quite easily. I've done him some serious damage anyway.
There's no difference between that tackle and Romero's.
There's no difference. There's no difference.
Didn't Ange pull that up in the post-match conference or whatever you call
it? He said he should have been sent off, basically. Yeah. To summarise.
He definitely made a comment about it, saying that VAR looked at a lot of things tonight and seemed to get everything right, except for the one where I've probably lost another player for a while. So he's obviously, although Decky stayed on the pitch, he is obviously saying Decky's a good chance he's injured and going to be out for longer than just the one game.
I mean, you see, sorry, not Paul's. Kerry's mentioned here. There's an anti-Spurs agenda going. I don't think there is an anti-Spurs agenda. I just think the level of refereeing and the VAR consistency isn't right this season.
Yeah.
And I think the standard of refereeing is poor for the world's best league, biggest money league, certainly. And I think VAR don't get a lot of things right in terms of consistency. Now, that should have been reviewed and a red in the same way that the Romero was reviewed and a red. Doesn't matter whether it's in the box or not for me. Doesn't it's a red card. It was very dangerous. I
think it was reviewed because they spent ages after Valise put the ball in the net. I know that Decky was
looking at Valise, whether Valise someone was offside in the build-up.
Yeah.
He was nowhere near offside.
It wasn't Valise. It was in the build-up play to see if anyone was offside with that goal.
Right. Okay.
So it wasn't so much Valise.
That's exactly the same as the Romero goal. Then they were looking to see if a Chelsea player was offside in the goal, and then like, oh wait, we found this tackle as well. Let's send Romero off.
If Caicedo's goal had been given, Romero wouldn't have been sent off.
No, I know. I know.
That's the ridiculousness of it. Whereas VAR should be picking all these things up. Because if it's a bad challenge, it's a bad challenge. And this is where they're failing a little.
The VAR's compromised. They're probably like in cricket, and like say, use cricket for example, you've got definite measures as to where they actually make judgments too. I think in a governance measure, VAR probably needs to clarify what they actually look at. They're always going to look at offsides. They're always going to look at if the ball's crossed the goal. They've probably got to define what they do because it's a bit too subjective of what they do at the moment.
It's massively
this wasn't subjective. This wasn't subjective at all.
No,
this was.
I agree.
We've got two other examples this year of a player following through after whether they meant to or not after a mistiming a tackle and collecting the player and got a straight red for it. It's a red card.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
There's three. There's three examples of the one thing.
Yeah, I get you. But then the referees are ceasing their responsibility to a guy in a bloody room in southwest London somewhere for them to make the decision. It's like, what?
Yeah, but that guy in the room is inconsistent, and that's
what I'm getting to.
Should make sense because the guy in the room's got the best view in the house, hasn't he?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
But, I agree.
I also think it's the penalties have always been somewhat subjective and how much you want to go. But I go back to the Brentford game. They get a penalty because Sonny brushed the tip of someone's shoe when they were already falling over. And it was like, that was the softest penalty you'll ever see. Ever see. You go, okay, this is the standard then for refereeing for the year is any touch in the box is a penalty. All right, fine. But then in that logic, we should have had a penalty yesterday. Like This is it. There's some stuff that you go, if that's a penalty, that's a stone wall penalty. I don't have an issue with VAR. I have an issue with the way VAR is implemented, the consistency of it. But we're going down a VAR-shaped rabbit hole. So there we go. 50 of you watching, please do smash the like button. Costs you nothing, takes a second, means the world to us. So please do smash that like button. JP, oh God. Dave bringing the banter as per. What was the next slide you've got for us, John? Any more talk?
I was just going to say, so obviously, Valise got his first goal, which was great. Dave did say earlier he scuffed it, and my initial thought was he scuffed it, but actually when I watched it back earlier today, I think he changes the angle of his foot, so he's not going to cross the goal, so he's aiming for that near post. It did bobble a little bit.
He did hit it. I think what he's saying is he hit it into the ground, but I mean, hitting it into the ground is a technique.
I think he had to. If he doesn't hit it into the ground, he doesn't score there. I think he was trying to. He didn't hit it as cleanly as he would have liked to, but he meant to hit it into the ground to put it in.
Yeah. Ultimately, Valise has got his first goal, and I was like, as much as anything, just him scoring his first goal, that could be such a big thing, especially in the next few weeks when we lose Sonny.
I tweeted out earlier, and maybe you guys saw it too. There was one bit where he did this awesome turn, Valise, really high quality, where he could have created a chance. I thought, to me, I saw something there, and I think what I've done so far is really see him run around a bit for a few minutes. But I think he showed a lot. Actually, I think he showed a lot that he can definitely have a role at Spurs.
And, he's 20 years old.
Caused Dunk more problems than Richie did.
Well, yeah,
he throws himself around, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Dunk threw himself into that challenge with Decky, because I wouldn't say he was rattled, but he definitely wasn't as comfortable at night with Veliz as he was with Richie. Definitely caused him problems, and I think that helped us quite a lot. Even though, say, Richie wasn't bad compared to some of the other players that were on the pitch.
No.
I think actually having Veliz as a focal point made a difference for us. And sometimes you just need to switch it up, and that Veliz gives us that option. And hopefully, I mean, Paul's saying about Scarlett coming back. I'm not sure Scarlett's going to get much game time. I don't know what you boys think.
I think he's no, because you've got Richie there, you've got Veliz there. I don't see him playing out wide. I don't know. I think he'll certainly
more
take
suspensions,
maybe. Yeah, more suspensions. You never know. But I don't think Scarlett will be.
The only reason Scarlett's coming back is because he wasn't playing at Ipswich.
Correct.
And if you're not playing out on loan, you may as well not be playing back at your home club.
Yeah.
So,
which is all true. But he might well make up the bench numbers, to be honest.
He will. Yeah. He'll get minutes. But it'll be like 2 minutes in the 96th to come on and just waste up a sub.
Yeah, maybe. We shall see.
And then obviously we got another corner. Brian tried to cross it and yet again failed with one of his. I mean, him and Johnson's crosses are terrible, has to be said. They really need to work on their crossing. He got it back. Fortunately, he rolled it back to Poro, who put in a brilliant ball for Daddy Davis, to knock it in at the far post. Weirdly, because Davis has had quite a few chances in the last few games, hasn't he? He seems to have at least one header from a set piece each game, and I just had this little inkling that he might get a chance. I didn't think it'd be that late in the game, but I thought it was beat. No, I should have done. Should have told you to do it. Yeah. And he beat Dunk to it, and it was a good header. And I was like, we were joking. The fans that were left, and I took a picture earlier. That's me in the middle with blue jeans, black jacket, and glasses on next to my son with a leather jacket and red t-shirt. What is he doing? But as you can see, there's a lot of empty seats around us.
Yeah.
So the ones of us that were left, we're all joking, come back in. And some of the guys did come back in from the concourse at that point when we got back to 4-2. And we were all joking about, we're back in it now, lads. And we could have done. Højbjerg hits the post.
Genuinely good. Yeah.
You know, Poro had a shot that went straight. I think hit the defender in the midriff when he probably could have put it in the corner. We definitely had chances, and Brighton were wobbling at the end.
Oh, they were. And Brighton were almost hanging on.
Yeah.
Decky had an opportunity as well.
If there was another 10 minutes of that game, I think we'd have got a draw. But it is what it is. Like, you can't turn up for the last 15, 20 minutes and expect to win in the Premier League against quality sides when you're 4-0 down.
Unless you're Leicester.
What was most frustrating was, as much as, there's a little bit of bad luck with hitting the post and, deflections and whatnot, but still there were moments in that final half where we were just really poor decision-making. Like, Decky had an opportunity where he was through and all he had to do was lash it and it was going to be a goal. And he decides to put in the worst cross I've ever seen in my life that just kind of went out for a throw-in on the other end when he was in the box, just silly stuff, and getting, dribbling into the middle of the box and then standing on it and dancing around instead of releasing it quickly, and just really bad decision making throughout.
I thought Decky was poor, but he wasn't the only one. And people like a scapegoat, don't they? I mean, everyone was a scapegoat, but the reality is it's a poor result. But Brighton are no mugs. 2 penalties, an absolute worldie. So what can you do? Obviously, we could have done a lot differently, but it's water under the bridge now, and we need to look forward. So let's talk Spurs versus Bournemouth. Obviously, at Spurs this weekend. Sadly, I can't go, but I know Mr. Dive will be there lapping up Levy's hospitality, as I'm sure many of you in the chat will be there. Big gap between the two teams, but not that big, 11 points. But Bournemouth are the form team of the Premier League right now, aren't they, John?
Hold on. There we go. Look, there's their form guide. They are flying, and Dominic Solanke is being linked with us quite a lot at the moment, isn't he? Because he's scoring a few goals.
I've had to stick him in my dream team.
Have you? Well, that's a good shout because you've got win-win. Then if he doesn't score, happy days for Spurs.
I have to say I've got Pedro in as well, so he did all right for me actually. Conversely,
watching him just attack us was just so frustrating because he just wanted to go as he causes problems. I know we didn't have any centre backs playing, but he just caused so many problems for him, and it was really worrying.
He scored 7 goals.
Yeah.
This season.
I think Solanke will cause us problems. So, is there an argument for playing Dyer? I want yes or no.
Yes.
Right, Cam?
I said it for this game.
I initially didn't think so. I've spoken to James about this. He's big on Dyer playing. I still think he's got the turning circle of a aircraft carrier. But James, I'll just let you go on your soapbox to explain Dyer.
I just think that we're not being against City, and I can argue it for Brighton as well because they got pacey forwards. Yeah, you want Royale because you need that extra bit of pace. But in these games, we're getting bullied around in the air, and especially someone who can kind of go with Solanke. I think you want Dyer. You're going to have to, I'm worried about this one. We need certain skill sets to come up against different defenders, and given we don't have the player to play at 6 to give us the cover we need, those strikers are getting the ball really early and they're getting it in dangerous areas. I think you want Dyer to help us marshal to the defence, but also to put his big noggin on the ball and get rid of it. I think we've struggled with that.
Yeah. Caller?
Difficult. Very difficult because obviously, Dyer is a liability when you've got someone with pace against him. And Ben Davies isn't exactly quick. But nor's Emerson Royal. So, and that's the bit where I say it's difficult because I don't think Royal's particularly quick. And he's not particularly comfortable on the ball.
I think Dyer was talking about this in the podcast as well.
Right, I mean, for my money, I would have played Dyer. I know it's not a popular view. I don't really care, but I would have played Dyer against Brighton, and I would play him because he's your only recognised centre back. Unless you're going to go left field and play one of the youth prospects, I think you need a recognised centre back in there. I think in the right centre back position. I mean, Davies is fine. Davies has not let us down whatsoever, as he rarely ever has done. If I'm being really honest, in his Tottenham career, as I call him, solid 7 Ben. I would play Dyer, yeah. I would. I think
you're
right, JP. I think you raised good points. I think in the air, he adds you a lot. I mean, we have bloody Højbjerg marking dunk at corners.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a complete mismatch. You need some height in there. You need some presence. And don't get me wrong, I see all of Dyer's flaws. I am not one of these people who goes, "Yeah, I'm our club." I think you need to pay him a little bit of respect. He's played at the absolute highest possible level. He ain't going to get bullied off the ball.
I think it's with
Dyer is he makes an error because he is gaff driven, but isn't Emerson, and he's a bit slow. But then Emerson's not exactly rapid, so that's what I see. That's my view.
I'm still pro.
Sorry, JP, before you speak. Question for the chat. Though all those people are saying no to Dyer, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Who would you play instead of Dyer? Put your answer in the chat for us. Go on, JP.
I bet you someone says Dorrington, despite having never seen him play.
Because of the João Pedros and coming up this Sunday, Solanke, that Ange still is scared to actually start Eric Dyer because of the speed of those forwards, essentially.
It's a little bit of that. So, I still think that playing Royale makes sense, and he gives you more of the qualities we need than Dyer has.
To be fair, Paddy, I'm better than a lot of players, but
I'm particularly that run after Wolves, playing Royale was the right decision, but I thought Everton probably made more sense to play Dyer. I would have been okay with Royale and was okay with Royale against Brighton because they're quicker, but against Bournemouth and Solanke, Solanke's got some pace to him, but he's also physical, I'd want Dyer.
Yeah, I can see that. Solanke's he's not super fast, is he? But he has got a bit of pace and power about him.
I think Ben Davies gives you enough to cover that, but you want someone who can match him physically.
Yeah, so there's a few Phillips calls there in the chat.
Hey, but like everyone who says play Phillips, play Dorrington has never seen Phillips or Dorrington, so their credibility is absolute zero. And if they have seen them play, they haven't seen them play at a Premier League level, so their credibility is absolute zero.
If you're saying,
and I'm not running these players down, by the way, at all. If Ange thinks they're ready, then by all means stick them in. But Ange clearly doesn't feel that they're ready.
If you're saying play Phillips or play Dorrington, what you're really saying is don't play Dyer or Real. That's all you're really saying is you don't want that, so you'll take any other option. I think that's a discredit to both those players. They're perfectly adequate Premier League footballers.
Perfectly serviceable.
Yeah. Just not for Spurs. That's harsh on Real. Real's done well this year.
To be fair, Mr. Muir is in the chat, and he says Phillips isn't good enough, and I have watched them, and I know Paul does watch a lot of the under 23, is it stuff, under 21 stuff,
21.
So we'll have the same level of mobility, yeah, maybe, but Dyer, people forget. People have very short memories. Under Conte, Dyer had 7 or 8 games where he was absolute class, and he played himself back into the England team squad when he was completely out of it. Now, admittedly, that's in a 3 playing a deep line, but the guy can defend. He has got a clue about positioning. His distribution is generally pretty good. He like I said, he's slow and he makes unforced errors. That's the issue with Dyer. I nearly said Diver then. Put him at centre back.
I mean, he's not the quickest, is he, Diver? Unless there's champagne at the end of it.
Yeah, just like a glass of champagne, waft that around. He'd be all over it.
Or he's in the Jag.
That's slow. That's a slow old man's car.
Are we going to do a go-kart thing at some point as well, just to upset Dave?
I really hope so. I'm going to record
Diver insists he'll be cooler.
Going to record. Well, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. That's not what he says at all in the go-karts. He says the go-karts are unfair because the weight ratios are all very relevant. So,
I should be good then.
You should be great. No pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
So Semenya's quite quick, isn't he? But I don't think Tavernier's the quickest. So it is just down Solanke. So maybe you could play.
Kluivert's a problem though.
Right.
Because Kluivert will play. He's tricky and he'll play around off Solanke, so he's a problem. He was a problem for us when we played them last time as well.
Yeah. Not as good as his dad, but that's not...
I was just about to say Patrick.
His dad's pretty good.
James has the same problem.
Brilliant. So yeah, and interestingly, right, this was the side that where we beat Bournemouth 2-0 on a sunny day in August. Madison played, obviously scored. We had Bissouma, we had Romero, we had Van der Ven. My God, this feels like a long time ago. How many of them will actually take to the field at the weekend? Richarlison, Son, Sarr, Destiny, Porro, and Vicario, so 5. Yeah.
I've a question for you.
Vicario was amazing yesterday.
Yeah.
Some of the saves were just
I think what's hilarious is that people, when we signed him, were like, we'll lose this guy. We've taken the cheap option. Raya's the better bet. All of that stuff. And this is by the way the same as the Phillips should walk into the team. Dorrington should walk into the team. Like, the football guys do actually know a thing or two about football. I'm pretty sure Ange Postecoglou's knowledge level is better than Dave on Twitter, or Rob on Twitter, or Owen on Twitter. Any generic name on Twitter.
Or reversed.
Yeah.
Unless your name's Antonio Conte and you think that Bissouma and Sarr can't play football. That's...
yeah, maybe. But I just think that, you know what I think. I just think it's ridiculous how people jump on things. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. Hugo's gone. Breaking news. Off the injury list. Woo!
Is it confirmed?
Yeah, I was going to say, is that official?
Well, Vicario's given it. Vicario? Romario's given it. Here we go.
Yeah,
so I think
and
it's as good as
our man in the boardroom confirmed he was told last night it was a done deal.
I mean, look, Hugo. I've got so much love for Hugo. One of my favourite players in the last 10 years. He's done fantastic for Spurs. I wish him absolutely all the best, providing this deal goes through. I will absolutely no ill feeling whatsoever. I was never one of the ones really on his back. I think it's a shame, obviously, the way his career ended. I would have wanted him to go on high. But, you know, the guy's been amazing for us. And 11 years service in the modern era is a lot of service. We'll cover that all off in the transfer window. So I don't want to get bogged down into it now because we are running out of time. But I'm so happy that Hugo's found a club because it's 120 grand a week off the payroll. And more to the point for him, it's a great move.
Will he get a testimonial?
They don't do them anymore.
Years?
Wouldn't have
They don't
thought
do
so.
it anymore.
He's a goalkeeper.
I mean,
goalkeepers don't get testimonials. That's
But he's got 11 years of service.
Well, they don't need it because
they
they
one
are
after 10, don't you? Yeah, but they normally donate it to charity, John. They don't normally donate
Yeah,
it.
but I know Darren Anderson said on the interview I heard him do, saying Daniel Levy had said he could have a testimonial if he organises it, and Darren said I just haven't really got round to it. So I imagine it'll be the same thing. It's up to that's very much you want to do it, you sort it out. We'll give you the stadium. That's pretty much what they'll do. But I
bring
doubt
some
it.
French players in, that's for sure.
Yeah, it'd be a nice little event. Get Zidane in there. And did you know, Cam, Zidane, Jerry Francis turned him down when he was Spurs manager?
No, that's not factual. That's not true.
That is fact.
Yeah, no, it was Steve Hitchen.
Mid-90s, Jerry Francis could have had Zidane, and he said no.
Hitchin-esque.
Yeah.
We'll just call that. Can we get back to
I'm
our
sure
lineup?
King Hodden will
What's that?
confirm
Hang on
He
there.
wanted,
I'm getting you back
Zidane.
on track here. I'm getting you back on track. What should our lineup be at the weekend, John?
Right, so obviously this many players are out. Skip apparently may be back. So obviously the goalkeeper and the fullbacks, as long as they haven't injured themselves today, pick themselves. Centre back, definitely Daddy Davis. I'm really torn between. I would be tempted to bring Dyer in, to be honest, which gives me shudders. Midfield, I think Gio should come in. I know Gio gave away the penalty, but I thought generally he helped our all-round play. We were much better with him on the pitch in an attacking sense.
He keeps the ball well as well.
Yeah, I don't like Højbjerg as a 6. Højbjerg can play as the 8.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to go Sarr, Gio. Maybe if Skip's fit, maybe Skip comes back in. And then
I think Sonny.
The real question for me is, I think it has to be Richie, Sonny, and Johnson again. Don't think Valise is quite ready yet, but at least we know he can come off the bench and have an impact.
Certainly can. Cameron, what say you?
I think I was obviously chatting about this with James last night. I thought, in regards to switching Lo Celso with Kulusevski, and I thought keeping it similar to that. I actually came around to thinking that when I was discussing that with James last night. So I don't know if there'll be too many changes per se. But I do think there'll be early substitutes in the game because I think Ange is obviously dealing in squad management at the moment because I think they're quite a bit tired.
The cup game's 6 days later, isn't it? Or 5 days later.
Yeah, that's why Richie came off, or some of the guys came off early because he's essentially having to manage the squad levels. And
when's Sonny leaving for the Asian Cup? Is this his last game?
Possibly. It hasn't been confirmed yet. But good chance it will be his last game, Sarr's last game.
If this is Sonny's last game and Sarr's last game, they both play. If they're available for the cup game, I would be thinking about subbing them both off. and starting
Yeah.
Hill and Skip and Højbjerg, as terrifying as that sounds.
We want Skip and Højbjerg.
No, I don't want Skip and Højbjerg, but Sarr looks knackered. Sonny
and Dyer.
No one wants Skip and Højbjerg.
There's going to be early subs in this game.
I just think that, like, if Decky hadn't have been suspended, I would have gone for Lo Celso, Skip, and Decky. But him being suspended means that that Sarr's probably going to play. At centre back, I'd go Davies and Dyer. There's maybe a question of whether Royale plays right back and you rest Porro just so you don't, because he's played every minute of every game since Brentford. Maybe he needs a rest so that we don't risk losing him before the cup game as well. But I think it's too many players to be taking out of the squad right now. We don't have enough, so not much changes.
No.
JP, look at that in text, mate. It doesn't look good, does it?
I'm aware. I'm aware of what that means.
Yeah.
Cam, you're saying about subs, but did you see the bench yesterday? It's getting more for the kids.
It was useful.
We're going to have more kids on the bench. We'll have, obviously, Kulusevski's out, so we're going to have an extra kid on the bench.
I do see a kid or two maybe ending that. If we're ahead, particularly in hope, I do see a couple of kids coming on for a few minutes. Ange has never been scared of playing the kids, but our squad's getting reduced dramatically in January, and I do hope we do get some early transfers in as well. But we're going to bare bones in the situation in January. So I think his hands are getting tired. Let's be honest.
I'll make one other change. It's not personnel. I'd play Richie on the left and Sonny down the middle. I just think that Sonny's not got enough energy.
Switch in the game. I'd like to see them do that during the game, even for 10 minutes, just sometimes to mix it up. That would be helpful, I think.
Maybe. Well, I don't know. I think their best positions are left and forward, but personally,
they're both of their best positions on the 9.
No, they're not.
Oh, we had this chat last night. Go on, caller.
Sonny's absolutely best as 9.
Well,
I think it depends on who you're playing against.
Go, caller.
I think Sonny's better out wide. I think he illustrated that.
He can't beat a man.
Game.
He can't
That's
beat
not
a
true.
man.
He can.
He beat Trippier, who was dead on his feet. That's the only.
So we've reversed from he can't beat a man to he beat Trippier.
Last night.
England right back within the space of about 3 seconds. Now I know you're
having the worst week of his life.
Behave. There's worse to come.
Yeah, well, we know what that is, but we can't mention why that is. But it's all over Twitter.
I can't mention that, but there's worse to come. So yeah, it's look. I think the best position is on the left.
I think it depends who Sonny's playing against and what Obviously, last night he didn't play well at all. He kept losing the ball. If he's got space to run into, playing that 9 is brilliant. If he's playing 2 centre backs and we're trying to kick it up to him because our press isn't
terrible,
we're not playing for a press, then he really struggles.
Richarlison is more of a traditional 9. Absolutely. Yeah. And Son is more of a traditional wide man. So JP, case closed. We move on. I would say that for this game, I would bring in I'll bring in Dorrington at centre back. You can't Porro. I
think Felix is ahead of him.
Whatever, one of them. Porro rotation? No, you're mental, JP. Absolutely not. We've got bugger all fixtures in January. Can have a rest. Left back, of course, is Udogie. Left centre back is, of course, Davis. Midfield. This is the problem, isn't it? We've got absolutely sod all options available. I mean, Højbjerg for me, I've never been his biggest fan, even though he's got his shirt on my wall in the man cave. He was terrible for most of that game against Brighton. But who have you got? Skip? Sim or Skip?
I go Skip.
Kind of like
Skip or Højbjerg, go Skip.
Maybe Skip to just, rotate it around a little bit. And then further advance, you've got to play Sarr. It'd be a head case not to. And then Madison's back, isn't he? Oh, no, that's fancy land.
When is Stu back?
End of January. End of January.
So possibly Brentford.
He's not a quick healer, is Mr. Maddison. But when he comes back, it'll be a phased return, so he'll be coming off the bench. So it's not going to be like quick, and it's the same with Van der Ven. Like they're not going to suddenly, they're fit again. Let's stick him in.
Is he ahead of schedule though? Or is he still during Jan?
No, he's behind schedule, if anything. I think Van der Ven's slightly ahead of schedule. But what we don't want to do with these players is re-injure them immediately, a la Benton Kerr. Really, that's the key, isn't it? But yeah, you should have Benton Kerr, Maddison, and Van der Ven all back by the end of January, and we've got bugger all games in January. What is it? Two games?
2 league games plus possibly 2 cup games. Definitely got 1 cup game.
Paul's comment there.
Sorry,
Paul's comment.
This one.
No,
not in Ange's system.
No, he can't. He absolutely can't. I don't think he's mobile enough.
No,
That's one of your reaction.
So yeah, go back to the midfield.
While you're thinking, what worries me is you look at
Skip and Sarr.
Youngsters. Yeah, when you look at the youngsters we're bringing on the bench, they're either attackers or defenders. We don't seem to have any youngsters midfielders. Niall Johnston knocking around, but
Alfie Devine's on loan.
Alfie Devine, again, he's an attacking midfielder, isn't he? He's not really a central midfielder. We don't seem to have.
There's the young play the box 8.
He can play box.
Yeah. Matthew Craig he got a debut, didn't he?
Then up front, it's going to be Richie, Son, and Hill, maybe. I think. Oh no, you got Johnson.
Want Hill to attack his fullback. If he does that, then give him a place in the team.
No, he's not going to do that, is he? It's going to be Son, Richarlison, and Johnson. Yeah, but there you go.
Knowing our luck, 3 of them have got injuries.
I feel depressed already. What's your predictions then, fellas? John, what are you saying?
3-2 Spurs.
Is this because you can't predict a defeat? You're not allowed.
I had predicted a defeat before.
I'm
keeping the faith. I'm keeping the faith.
I know he predicts defeats all the time. Actually, I'm talking nonsense.
What I can't predict is us to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah.
So 3-2.
Okay, JP.
1-0 Spurs.
1-0. 1-0. So you want Eric Dyer at centre back?
Yeah.
Ollie Skip, Højbjerg, all of this nonsense. You want to rest Porro, and you're predicting a 1-0 victory?
Yeah. Yeah. Attrition. Just get it done.
Lay off the Castlemaine 4X sunshine. That's your problem. Cam, what are you saying?
I'm going to be more of a realist. 3-3.
I mean, I'm not sure that's realistic.
Mate, 1-0 sounds really good right now.
Bournemouth are the form team of the Premier League. I'm afraid I'm going to predict a home defeat and hope I'm wrong. So I'm going to say 3-1 Bournemouth.
You're normally the positive one.
I predicted the Brighton defeat. I even put money on the Brighton defeat and got slated for that. But, you know.
Never put money against a team.
You're saying we'll only score 1 goal?
Yeah. Why does that not compute, Cam?
Well, because they've got a fair ton of injuries out as well. They don't have a complete first team. I thought, well, surely their patchwork defense might open up against us as well, like we will to them. Hence,
I just see trouble. I think, you know, Bournemouth have got the confidence, they've got the swagger, they've got the spring in the step. We haven't.
They do press as well.
Right now, they press loads. That causes us loads of drama and grief. And we haven't been that great at home this season. You know, I really hope that I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But Bournemouth have been fantastic this season. So, you know, they took Man United, and I know Man United are shit, blah, 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 blah. They absolutely destroyed them. Not so long ago. I think it's going to be a very tough game for us. I also have nightmares of last season under Conte when we got beaten by Bournemouth at home, and I didn't enjoy that whatsoever.
Was that 3-2 or
3-1? Was it 3-2?
3-2.
Yeah,
3-2. That was under Mason. Right, it was Ryan Mason game. That.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah. It was shit. So look, I am worried about it. I am really worried about it, but actually, we shall see.
The people have joked in our chat, and I think even on YouTube, about we should bring Sanchez back. Didn't Sanchez get subbed, having been a sub in that game? Didn't he come on and they scored immediately? He just went round him. An absolute shocker. And that's why Sanchez had to go.
Yeah.
Was that the one, was it, where he got booed by his own?
Yeah.
I thought it was the contact.
Yeah, but the question is, do you want Sanchez or Dyer or Royale?
Sanchez.
And the answer to that is Sanchez.
No, Sanchez can't. Sanchez is useless on the ball as well.
Yeah, but you know and I know that the reality, Caller is not always wrong. Just to be really clear, Paulio. Very often right. I was right against Brighton. The sad thing about the whole Sanchez thing is this is the system that would have made him look his best because it plays to his absolute strengths. You know, pace was his one forte. It'd have been all right in this system.
But what about kicking the ball out from the back?
Yeah, there's a problem there, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Let's move on. I'm depressed now. Transfer window.
Kerry, the answer is no. It's not on Sky. It's not been broadcast in the UK.
No.
Unless
you have one of those illegal set-top box things, which I don't condone whatsoever. But they are available from all good suppliers. Right. Let's talk transfer window, John. While I recharge my glass, I'm drinking this Maho Spanish lager. It's bloody lovely.
You're just making a noise.
Maho. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about. Mick Dundee, by the way, says 3-1 Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. I love Mick Dundee.
Hey, crocodile.
Yeah. Talk us through your transfer ITK while I reload.
So the man that knows, who shall not be named, is telling me that he knows nothing. He's telling us that we are in talks with Genoa and Atalanta and a Dutch team for a centre-back, but we will only sign one centre-back, not from all three clubs. And advanced talks was the words used, and expecting to be done early in January. That said, earlier on Twitter, a link came out. I think Paul O'Keefe might have tweeted it, I can't remember now, about Ederson from Atalanta, who is a central midfielder. Yes, sources close to Cheese from John, indeed. So I'm not sure whether we are looking for a centre-back from Atalanta or is this centre-back Ederson, a Brazilian midfielder who looks like a number 6 from what I've seen, which might mean Gibbo's favourite, Mr. Højbjerg, moving on, I'm guessing. He would be the most sensible one, or Lo Celso going along. So it does sound, the early vibes are, we are definitely going to be doing something. There's still a bit in my, bit here, just saying, reminding me of 2012 when we signed Ryan Nelson and Louis Saha rather than Suarez and Gary Cahill. So I've always got that nagging down at the back of my head. But hopefully we are going to do some business and get it done early. Ange has been making all the right noises. And I get a vibe that the club want to listen to Ange and actually do what he says, unlike Conte, who was a whiny little moany child. JP?
I think we will definitely get one centre-back because we're in a situation where we absolutely cannot. But I think we will be underwhelmed by anything else that we do in the window. I think we'll end up doing a loan maybe for Jota or something. And then maybe another, classic loan to buy on some player that we don't end up taking the buy option on, who plays in midfield as well. I think Højbjerg will want to leave, and he's the only one I can see us letting leave. But you have to bring someone else in. And to be honest, if it's hopefully Basuma and Bentancur are back and we don't really need Højbjerg in the second half of the year, in which case, if you just bring in someone on loan to cover numbers, I'm totally fine with that. As long as we're getting, one of our top 2 targets for centre-back, that's got to be the priority. Like if we only did one thing this summer and we got a centre-back in, my summer, this January, and we only got a centre-back in, I'd be fine with that. We just have to get a decent centre-back.
Yeah. So HG talking about Scalvini, who's a young 20-year-old from Atalanta. who has played sort of 60-odd games for Atalanta, is valued very highly. I say he's only turned 20 a couple of weeks ago as well. So obviously we've seen pictures of Paratici at Tottenham at the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still knocking around, despite the fact apparently he has nothing to do with the club, but he's definitely still involved, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And us signing players from Italy would make sense because we've got links there. So Scalvini's one. Whether this Edison link is just a bit of a smokescreen or we are looking at him as well, and we're talking to them about both players. And the other one is obviously Dragusin, who we've been linked with for a week or two from Genoa. The guy from France, I think, is definitely dead in the water now. I think they want too much money for him. So it's going to be Dragusin or Scalvini. Dragusin obviously got more experience. Scalvini's fits the profile of one for the future. But to play 60-odd games in Serie A when you've only just turned 20 is pretty impressive. So, yeah, there you go. Mick Dundee saying Todibo would be perfect.
Are you sure that's completely dead? Just based upon what that
based on the people like Paul O'Keefe and George Bannister's comments online, I think probably is dead now. Whether we revisit it in the summer, I don't know. But we've got a super chat from Jeff.
Yeah.
Can we ask Ange if he knows Nippon hidden gem from J League?
I think you will see some of that based on Ange's history.
I think we would have already seen it.
Do you think so?
Because the J League season finished a few weeks ago, and so the players will be looking to make their moves quickly, and they often have shorter contracts over there, so easy to get things done. Yeah. I think if you look at what he did, he brought those 4 players in from Japan, or 3 players in from Japan on the 1st of January in when he was at Celtic. He gets that stuff done quick.
It's interesting. Japan's not been mentioned, but I do know that we've been looking quite strongly at China, the Chinese market as well. We've had a lot of people over there scouting. Apparently, guess not a lot of Chinese players around Europe, are there? So it might be a bit of an untapped market potentially.
Well, I think Levy's seeing a marketing potential of 1 billion people. Yeah,
absolutely.
More like it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see someone coming from the J League still, but who knows? Priorities have got to be centre backs, haven't they? Yeah. Got to be centre backs. But we've been linked with a flying winger who was previously at Celtic, Jota, isn't it, John?
Yeah, he went out to Saudi Arabia and then they couldn't play him because they had too many players or something. So he's basically been twiddling his thumbs. So the one worry would be he would come in and wouldn't hit the ground running. He hasn't played for months, has he? So that's going to be one worry. But he's a very talented player. When Ange came in, we were like, let's go and get Jota because he looked like a really good player up in Scotland. So if we get him on loan for the half,
I look a really good player in Scotland. I'll tell you. But yeah,
do you? Better get on that bike, mate.
Yeah,
get going.
Absolutely.
I think Keith wants us to sign Cameron Carter-Vickers, that top centre back in Scotland.
Yeah, and this is the level, isn't it? And this is the danger. But I mean, what do I see us getting in January? I think we'll sign a centre back and a forward. Centre backs, obviously, we look like we're all over at the moment.
Yeah, this is an interesting point. I think talking about Vicario earlier and the Raya thing, we went for the cheaper option and no one really knew who he was. Do you think it will kick off in Twitter when we sign some random bloke none of us have ever heard of? Or do you think there's a bit of a change in culture now?
I would like to think that some people have learnt their lesson with Vicario, but I know differently. Yeah, I don't see it. No, I just don't. I think it's going to be a transformative window in the summer. I think in January we'll add 2-3 players tops. Probably.
James, what did you count last night in terms of players leaving at the end of this season? Or you think? Was it close to 8, 5 to 8 or something?
Yeah, we went through the squad and counted like the guaranteed they will go, and there was like 8 players that we think will go in the summer.
Yeah.
Cool then. Give us your 8 while we've got 5 minutes.
Well, you've got Dyer and Højbjerg, Dyer and Larissa contract exits. So, Cool, that's done.
Yep. And Perisic.
Sorry, there's that. Then you've got Højbjerg will almost definitely be gone. Lo Celso almost definitely gone. Hill, I'd say pretty much that's a nailed on. He'll be gone. Yep. Now I can't remember all the players. Sessegnon was a maybe because I didn't know if we'd be able to find a buyer, but I think he might have been part of our 8. And then stretching here.
Ndombele?
Didn't even count.
Didn't even mention that.
Yeah, it didn't even count him.
For him.
I reckon he'll be in the under 21s.
He'll still be here till next year, won't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, Lo Celso and Højbjerg's contracts run out next year.
Yeah.
So they're going to want to cash in this. If not in January, it'll be in the summer, you'd think. So
I'd be very surprised if Højbjerg goes in January. There's lots of noise, but it's only if we can get a replacement in, and we'd have to sign the replacement first.
One of Austin and Whiteman, one of them will go.
Yeah,
for their careers.
You did say that last night. Yeah.
Whiteman's got quite a bad injury, hasn't he? So
yeah,
definitely see him moving on. Austin's number 3 at the moment, and obviously Fraser Forster signed a new contract, so he'll definitely be next year as well.
We shall see. Well, look, there's lots to talk about in terms of transfers, and we will have you covered on the Cheese Room, both through the podcast and YouTube, 3 times a week on YouTube, and twice a week on the podcast. I think that we'll do some special episodes over January, especially as we've only got potentially a couple of games in January, maybe 4, as John pointed out. If we're still in the FA Cup, hopefully we'll be. But we've run out of time for tonight. So, John, thanks very much for joining.
It's been great. Thank you very much for listening to my tour guide of Brighton. And
I was expecting this number 62 bus. Yeah, it took us to the stadium.
I don't get on a bus.
Okay.
I get Diver's driver to pick nowadays.
Fair point. Cameron, as ever from Down Under, you and your phone are a regular feature on the show, and we appreciate you.
Does it actually work? Is it just
it
opens
up the gate?
The
front.
The gate. There you go. Listen to
Security
him.
Gate. Yeah.
JP, thanks as ever for coming on and showing us your wares, i.e. your hat.
My Robin Hood Men in Tights outfit or something as well. That's where we're going, but okay. Thank you. No, it's been real. Thank you for indulging in my dulcet tones and rattling with my rage. It's been a wonderful morning.
Good.
I now get to go and figure out where I left my car. It needs to be towed after last night, so that's going to be fun.
A messy night around Cameron's house and the car being towed back. Yeah, what more can I say? So look, I think we've been nattering for an hour and 20 minutes. All that's left for me to say really is hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, listen to the podcast, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us wherever you go. We follow Tottenham wherever you go. The future is bright. Ange Postecoglou revolution is still just getting started. You need to believe in Spurs and ignore my prediction. We're going to beat Bournemouth. Have a good one. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.